Hello, good morning, everyone. Very warm welcome to Babycode Free IELTS Tips. I'm Tanu Vermani, an IDP certified trainer and a TEFL and TESOL certified trainer. I'm back with my IELTS tip session. Today is the 12th session for IELTS tips, and I'm providing you speaking tips. 10 speaking tips from the experts. So these tips are provided from the IELTS examiners, or you can say the IELTS expert. So let's look at these speaking tips, how you can ace your IELTS or how you can boost your score in the speaking test. Now, when it comes to speaking test day, on a test day, you often feel nervous, right? That how you're going to face your examiner. By reading through these tips or by following these tips, you will be better prepared and you will be more confident on your testing, right? So I know that you might be nervous about taking your test, but these tips and the plenty of practices, you will be able to build your confidence and you will get an increase in your band score, right? And one more thing, for candidates who are giving the IELTS on paper or either on computer, face-to-face speaking test is made up of three parts. So it is same for both, right? So let's see. Part one, as you know, part one is of 4 to 5 minutes. A conversation is there with an examiner. So general questions will be asked by the examiner and it is all about introduction and overview. So topics might be about your work, your family, your home life, your personal interests, your likes, your dislikes. Part two is a cue card topic, a task based card, where you will be given 1 minute to take the notes on the topic. You will be provided with pen and paper also. You have to prepare your response and then you have to speak for the next 2 minutes. Part three, you will have a conversation with the IELTS examiner around the topic of the part two. You have to discuss in more detail, and this part will be for 4 to 5 minutes, right? So let's look at the first tip. The tip number one is don't memorize your answer. Do not ever memorize your answer in part one because memorized language doesn't give the examiner an accurate measure of your English language skills. He will be able to tell that yes, you have memorized your answer and it's gonna influence your score. That means you will get your lower band scores, right? If you're gonna memorize your answers. So do not memorize your answers. Be natural when you're speaking. Tip number two, don't use big and unfamiliar words. So if you want that you want to improve the examiner with big and complex words in your speaking test, but to be safe, avoid using you're not familiar with because there will be higher chance that you are going to make mistakes. Either you will mispronounce the words or you are going to use the words in the right context, in the wrong context, right? So these mistakes can affect your band scores because if you're going to use them in the wrong context or if you pronounce them incorrectly, you will not get marks for the same, right? So don't use big and unfamiliar words. Use a range of vocabulary that you know and relevant to the topic also. For vocabulary list, you can see the topic tip number 10, which I'm going to tell you, and go to the baby code application so that you can learn about phrasal verbs and vocabulary also. Tip number three is use a range of grammatical structure. Now, examiners are going to check your speaking skills on the basis of four criteria: fluency and coherence, lexical resources, grammatical range and accuracy, pronunciation. Try and use range of grammatical structures using complex and simple sentences to express what you want to say. Know your own errors, practice speaking to your friends in English. Even you can record yourself so that you can spot your errors. If you hear any error, make sure to correct yourself, right? You are assessed on your different grammatical structures accurately. So it's important that you practice speaking about the test and speaking about past, present, and future, and you have to use the correct tenses also. Tip number four is don't worry about accent. Accent doesn't matter in the exam. So when you're having a speaking test, examiner understand the wide range of accents. So you will be able to understand what you say, unlike an AI machine. So if you can communicate well, there's nothing to worry about. But do aware of sounds that you have difficulty with. Make sure to use stress and intonation as English is a stress time language. Practice with friends, they will tell you if they can't understand what you're saying. Tip number five, pause to think. There is no harm in taking a brief pause to think about what to say. We all do it to process questions. You can use phrases to give you time to think during the speaking test. Phrases like, that's an interesting question. I have never been thought about that. Let me see. That's a good point. That's a difficult question, but I'll try and answer it. Well, some people say that is the case. However, I think. Let me think that for a minute, right? So try using these phrases when you have time to think about your phrase. Tip number 6, avoid using fillers. Speak confidently and avoid using the following fillers. We generally use fillers when we don't know what to say. However, this shows the examiner that you can't access the appropriate language or ideas. So it's important that you should avoid them and try to use the phrases which we have already discussed in the tip number 5. So avoid all these fillers. Tip number 7, extend your answer. Try to expand your answers in full. Extend your answers and don't wait for examiner to prompt you with a question. When your answers are short, this shows the examiner that you cannot talk in detail about a topic. So if examiner says why or why not, so they are prompting you to give a reason for your answer and so that you can extend your answer more fully. Tip number 8, smiling helps pronunciation. So smile. Smiling can help and even calm your nerves, which in turn helps your pronunciation. Make sure you enunciate clearly. Open your mouth wide enough so that your sound can come out clearly. When we smile, our mouth is bigger, right? And the tone of our voice is more friendly. So use clear enunciation, and the tone will show that examiner that you can use a wide range of pronunciation features. So do smile because it helps in pronunciation. Tip number 9, do not speak in a monotone. Now, sometimes when we speak, we produce a flat tone, a monotone with a little variation. This makes it more difficult to express what you say and makes it more difficult for the listener to identify what parts of your message are important. So putting emphasis on certain words and pausing at sections in your speech can make your conversation with IELTS examiner more engaging. So when we emphasize certain words, it makes it easier to compare and contrast ideas by stressing keywords. It also increases the flow of conversation. So remember, don't speak in monotone. Vary the stress and intonation to add emphasis. Use your hands to gesture and help the rhythm of the conversation. So don't speak in a monotone. Tip number 10, practice common IELTS topic. Part 2 of the speaking test requires you to speak on a given topic for about 2 minutes. So always practice common topics with your friends, families, and colleagues so that you can improve your skills. You can learn about vocabulary. You can do the same with our babycode application. You can practice all the topics here. Some of the common topics are tourism and travel, education, transport, environment, family life, sport and recreation, crime and punishment, the internet, advertising, and retail. So do follow these 10 tips from the expert part. Keep practicing, keep learning so that watch your journey also. And do not miss out our live session. Do attend our class at 4 to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. Thank you so much. And you can rewatch this session on the Babycode app as well as on the YouTube. So stay tuned for more tips and strategies. Bye bye. Thank you so much.